Let's be real for just a second. Most people are using ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, A, Claude, whatever it is, completely wrong. Prompt, result, copy, paste, send, publish, or whatever the heck it is that you're using it for. And you're wondering why you're getting just kind of like, results. So here's the thing. What we've learned is you gotta treat AI, ChatGPT, or any of them like a thinking partner, not just a robot assigned to doing your chores for you. If you start working with it, not bossing it around, you're going to get way better results. It's going to be way more effective. Your life is going to get better and you'll get the leverage you're actually looking for. Trust me, there's a whole nother level to this if you know how to ask. Many people are using ChatGPT the wrong way when they want a certain type of outcome. And so what we find is a lot of people are really having a lot of fun with the quick answers or doing things like ad copy or writing emails and all of these one-off sort of things. And it's great. Like, I mean, I'm not knocking that. But when I think about it, I think it becomes a bit shallow when we think about what it can do. And sometimes we're just going to try to press the envelope. And that's kind of where my discovery came was, can I press the envelope of this? And we'll kind of unpack that a little bit. A lot of people around the internet, I see it on Instagram primarily, TikTok a little bit. People are, and even YouTube, they're just giving people prompts to use to get a certain output. And I really find that that's not helpful. Just giving somebody a book of prompts or 20 prompts to do X, Y, or Z, even people are selling their prompts. I mean, I'm just like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not that you can't get some decent resource out of it, but just copying and pasting prompts is not really the best strategy. And then getting output, what we hear a lot, and I hear it a lot from people is, I've been working with ChatGPT or Claude. I'm just going to keep referring to ChatGPT here, but I keep getting output that doesn't feel right, or it doesn't feel like it's in alignment, or I keep asking it to redo it again and redo it again, and it's still not quite coming out the way I'd like it to. So we're going to talk about how to clean that up a bit today, if that's something that you've been experiencing. The thing that I like to say is that for me, what I learned and what I've sort of understood now is that it's not, prompting isn't a task, or prompting isn't a demand or a command. My phrase is it's a dialogue. I've learned to treat it more like a dialogue, meaning like a dialogue with a person. And I know that that sounds crazy, and I'm definitely not suggesting you start having a relationship with ChatGPT, but I treat ChatGPT as the resource that it is. It is a resource that has crawled the whole of the internet and continues to do so. So we don't want to limit it to what it can do. So these one-off prompts, everybody knows that that's not going to produce the best result. Certainly you can give better prompts and get better thinking. But what you're going to see today, and what I'm hoping to convey today, is this iterative approach to working with ChatGPT or any of the other AIs to really get some unique stuff. Often I'm asked about just, and I just want to take a quick second here because I still am trying to understand exactly how ChatGPT and these other LLMs work. I update this about every 6 months because the ChatGPT interfaces and all of these large language models are getting new versions every 3 to 6 months. And so I'm wondering what's changing as these models are evolving. And so this is how they're operating today. This is not the description or definition I had 6 months ago. And so just at the basic level, what's happening is when we type in something, an instruction, a question, or anything like that, what it's going to do is analyze our input. So I think we all understand it analyzes at a very quick speed, and then it starts generating responses. What I was curious about was how. Like, how does it generate these responses that are so spot on sometimes? Well, and this was interesting to me. It predicts the next most likely words based on the pattern. So then I'm thinking, wow, you're just predicting, but how do you predict and be so accurate, right? So, but it's learned from these massive data sets, whether it's text, code, and conversation. And so what it does is it considers the context of the prompt, which is it starts to explain why some of these basic prompts don't work very well, because if we don't give it context and we don't tie it to anything we've previously worked on, it's where we can sometimes find the drop off. So it's the context based on what we've previously said. And then this one is the very part that most people don't want to talk about. And I'm glad we don't have to talk about it because I wouldn't want to teach it or even learn it. But it has this statistical component of the relationships between words and ideas. And I mean, this is where I think the unlock comes. And then the last part is the reinforcement learning part, which is that helpful and there's obviously some safety parameters, and that's what everybody's sort of afraid of is, how safe will it be if people want to try to do malicious things with the tool. Next up is just this, I always wonder, like, how is it putting all the words together? And so in Google, I'm not going to do a Google thing about how Google reads semantic languages in prompts, sorry, not prompts, but in search queries and on websites, and looks for linguistic semantic relationships. But here it says it doesn't follow strict linguistic rules, but it relies on probabilities to produce the text that sounds coherent. And so what we're really seeing is sometimes we think ChatGPT knows things, but it's just doing massive calculations and connections to put things in a coherent way, which makes it feel like it's actually thinking, at least to me. Makes it feel like it's thinking. Okay. And it's combining, again, all of the past knowledge that it's crawled on, the things that you've provided it, and the context to create what we all feel like are these new useful responses. What I want to do quickly here is just bring up this, this last little part here. And I know everybody's done this, where they've done something on Google. And as you started typing something in a Google search, and you notice Google was auto completing what you were typing in, right? So if we really think about it, everyone's done that, I'm sure, when they've been on Google and it started putting in suggested words that you were thinking about. That was actually AI. I didn't even know that. Like, I've seen autocomplete and Google suggestions on Google for a long time, which actually is interesting, because now I know that, of course I do some research, but Google bought a company called DeepMind. I believe it was around 2012. So then it started making sense as I started really digging into how ChatGPT got here and how it blew up first. And my question was, why didn't Google come out with ChatGPT, or in their case, Gemini, first? And that's for kind of another conversation, but they did buy DeepMind. And I remember when they bought DeepMind, again, around 2012 or 13, but that's what they used it for. They were using AI already in this autocomplete. And so that's really kind of what ChatGPT is on steroids in an example. As far as this autocomplete, I was like, oh, okay. So it's been actually doing this for a while. By the way, I sat in an AI expert seminar last week at my mastermind, and the lady had been at Amazon. She had literally just left Amazon, but she's got a company here in Vegas, and she's been in AI for 21 years, 21. And so while we think this AI stuff is new, it is not new. We've all used AI more than we know. Siri, Alexa in your house. I mean, there's so many examples that we were using AI, and when you look back, you think, yeah, how could it have known that, right? And so that's what's kind of really interesting. What I want to do really quickly for those that have not been familiar, because this prompt framework, which again is what I developed in 2023, that started really giving us some kind of fuel for what we were doing. This framework is still valid today. In fact, I went to ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT, I say, hey, listen, I've been talking about this framework for a while, and I'm still teaching this framework every day. I said, but you're getting smarter and smarter based on these updates in your system. Is this framework still necessary and valid? And it said, yes, it is, because most people skip steps 1, 3, and 6. I want to share with you right now what those parts of this framework are. It's not because I'm a genius or anything, but I mean, I just did enough reps to where I said, it seems like when I do this and this. And so let's kind of dive into what this framework is. Now, I'm going to say right out the gate that this framework is mainly for people that are beginning to intermediate users of ChatGPT. Certainly, the more you do with it, the more, and now that the siloing is broken down, because now it can see all the way back to your first communication, which for me was December of 2022, all the way up to current day. And then it starts remembering, if you will, all of the chats and conversations and projects that you've been working on. This is where I would just say is the baseline recipe. And again, chat was kind of interesting. It said step 1, 3, and 6 are what people miss. This to me is where we begin to even start with a collaboration with ChatGPT. And notice I changed it from conversations, right? Chatbot, conversation, to collaborations. That's a frame of thinking that I changed, and I just don't call it a conversation anymore. It's a collaboration every time I open the tool. Hey, thanks for watching. We know you could be anywhere on the internet, and you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate that. We've got some more free stuff somewhere around here or down in the description below. We'd love to have you in our community. Talk to you soon.